Hi, this is Dr. Michelle Robin with Small Changes, Big Shifts, putting the odds in your favor. And I believe if you change one thing a month, the next 12 months, you'll change your life forever. Thanks for joining me on the journey. Welcome back to Small Changes, Big Shifts. Today's guest is going to be, the timing is actually perfect as we think about this transition we're in from a pre-COVID to COVID to the what's next after COVID. Today, joining me is Victoria Labaum. I love that name. She's the author of best-selling book, bestseller in its first week, Risk Forward. This book is not your typical book. It's more of an experience. She has a background in writing, performing, directing, and producing. She has appeared on Caroline's on Broadway, major network channels, HBO, and documentary films with Academy Award winners. She's taken that background to create two programs called Risk Forward and Rock the Room, where she applies principles from the arts to help people discover their genius and express their hidden genius as well. So, Victoria, welcome to Small Changes, Big Shifts.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
So, first of all, what got you inspired to be in the arts?
Well, I came from a family of academics, so it was a surprise that I twisted and went into the arts. But like many people, I grew up with a lot of different interests and I kept pursuing them all. For some people, that might be in the sciences or in math or in something physical and construction or sports. For me, it was in the arts. And this book is really about how do you go into the unknown, even if you're not sure where those talents and interests are taking you.
Well, we definitely have been in the unknown this last year. And I think you being in New York and also being an entertainer have been in the unknown. What have been some of your lessons the last year that you've gained?
Yeah. Well, to be clear, what I've done is taken those arts and brought them to people who are entrepreneurs, artists, scientists, students, senior citizens, and a lot of corporate executives. I do a lot of work in the business market and also the entrepreneurial and artist market. And what I've learned over the last year is that people have been questioning not only where they are in their lives, but what they want to do with their talents. So, people are reevaluating, is this really what I want to be doing with my life? And then also I have these interests, I have these talents. What's the best use of them? And so really this book, Risk Forward, is about taking those and following them to see where they lead.
Well, you mentioned looking at people's hidden genius, and I think we all have our own magnificence inside of us. And so when you think about the title, Risk Forward,
Yeah.
Tell me where that title came from, and when did you start envisioning this book?
Yeah, two great questions. Well, years ago, I studied with the legendary French mime, Marcel Marceau. Some people watching this will know his name, some people won't. Marcel Marceau was this extraordinary classical mime, but not that kind of white-faced, silly street mime. It was more beautiful, artistic, noble. And he had this term he called risque avant, which in French would be risk in advance. And it was this type of position where you had your heart open, you were almost arched like the sail of a boat. And I've come to think of that position like a philosophy for life. How do we go forward, heart open, a little bit off balance, even if we don't know where we're going? And so that was the real impetus for the phrase risk forward, which I then trademarked as a philosophy for work and life. And what inspired me to write this book really is that for so many years, and even still, there are times when I find myself in what I call the fog of not knowing. Of course, everyone's in the fog these days, right? And it could be for minutes when you're figuring out which to do for a blog post or an email or whether to speak up. It could be for weeks when you're figuring out something to do with your business. It could be for months when you're figuring out your next move in life. And what I discovered as I went around the world speaking at conferences is so many people sort of made that wrong. Like, what's your plan? What's your goal? Where do you want to be? And if you didn't have an answer, you were kind of considered less than. And so I wanted to write a book to address the value of those periods in between, because there's great potential.
Heart open. Wow. I mean, we could really crack that saying
Yeah.
for a couple hours. But I really want to stay focused on this book. What makes this book different?
Well, first off, and I'm going to hold it up. So if anyone's just listening to this, I'm going to be showing images. This book, first off, it's different because it's a business and personal development book and a gift book. So it crosses three categories: work, life, and art. And it's, I'm going to show it here. It's highly visual. It's colorful. Every page is different. Some pages have diagrams. Some pages have pictures. Here's some diagrams. There are pages that have pictures and fun things to look at. Other pages are your standard book with full text. Other pages have fun images. So the idea is every page is different. Each page is a surprise to the eye, and you can read the book in any order. So you can read it front to back, but you can pick it up and just dive in for 2 pages. Each chapter is anywhere from a half page to 2 pages. So people are loving the freedom of that and the feeling like it's okay to just jump in and out. You can pick it up and find something valuable at any point in whatever you're struggling with. So I wanted it to feel very freeing, very fun. And that's the word people use after they read it. They go, I feel so much more free. I feel like I have permission. It's great not to know. I'm excited. I have new ideas. So that is what makes it so different. It's an experience, as we say.
Well, my experience with the book is it is fun. And, when you look at the outside cover, you're kind of not, the inside surprises you to
Yes.
be transparent, because it does have color. It has some creativity and art in it. And the outside, you're thinking, oh, okay. But then you open up, you're like, wow. So on the show, we like to celebrate, guide, connect, which provide hope. We're celebrating you and having the courage to open your heart and share this book, because we know that it takes a lot of energy to write a book. What type of guidance would you share with our listeners today who are struggling to have their heart open and risk forward?
Yeah, well, there's 7 phases in the book to risking forward. And the first phase is to embrace the unknown. And I mean that very sincerely because of what I said earlier. We're taught that not knowing is like a deficit. And instead to embrace that and say, actually, this is a wonderful period because I have the position to make the choice, whether it's literally what am I going to make for dinner, or which book am I going to pull off my shelf, or what am I going to take on as another project. And so first, it's really to give yourself that space to recognize, okay, I don't have to rush out of the fog immediately, the fog of not knowing. And that's the first step. And then after that, the next phase of the book is to begin from within. And what I mean by that is we often look to outside, like what's everyone else doing in my peer group, in my team, in my colleagues, group, instead of saying, I have 4 questions early on that I ask the reader, and I'll just share one now, which is, what interests me now? What interests me now? Because sometimes our pasts can hold us back, not just our failures, but our successes. Like we've done something, we're known for it, and we think, oh, I have to continue in that. Instead of saying, what interests me now? Now. And seeing where that can lead. And on the note of being afraid, I always tell people, and this is a little later in the book, to keep the ideas close to the heart. There's a lot of pressure out there. Declare your goals and announce them and be accountable. But sometimes people who hear those can poo-poo you. So I say to anyone who's a little scared, just admit it first to yourself privately. Keep it quiet. We have a risk forward group so that people recognize to share ideas and not poo-poo the people who do share theirs, to encourage them. So it's really about finding a safe community, either privately to yourself or with others who are not going to question you, but say, yeah, keep going.
So give yourself permission to be in the fog, and then look within.
Begin from within.
Begin from within. Give me the next one. Give me one more, then people have to buy the book to hear the rest.
Right. The next is head into the unknown. And so that's like stepping out forward. And there's a series of principles to help you do that. Like, how do you, after you have that interest, what interests you now? How do you head into the unknown? And one idea from that is this concept I have called trust the idea that can lead to the idea. So for example, sometimes we have an interest, like I have a client, she has a 9-to-5 job. She's got 2 kids. There's no way she can completely change careers. She's got financial responsibilities, but her interest right now is stand-up comedy, even though she's got a 9-to-5 that has nothing to do with that. And what's happened is she's already stopped herself, or she had already stopped herself, because she's like, well, I can't be in comedy clubs because they're all shut down, and I've got 2 kids and I've got a job, so I'm not going to start. Instead of saying, well, trust that idea because you don't know where it will lead. Like that idea could lead to a YouTube channel. It could lead to doing stand-up just at home for friends through a little Zoom. You don't know. And it may not be the end goal. Like you may not be a stand-up comedy, but maybe that's the step you need to take to become clear on the next. And that happens in our professional lives, but also happens in a brainstorming session. Like sometimes people don't speak up in a meeting because they're afraid that their idea might not be fully formed or it might be impractical. Instead of saying, well, trust that idea, because when you share the idea, other people might go, oh, we can't do that. But what we could do is this. And so I say to people, just say, I don't know if this is a good idea, but it could be the idea that leads to the idea. And that's the heading into the unknown.
So I've got a question for you. What
Yeah.
idea has led to the idea for you?
What ideas led to the idea for me? Well, studying mime. I mean, when I first was going to study mime, people said, what are you going to do with that? Do you want to be a mime? Or, are you changing careers? I said, no, I'm not trying to be a mime. And no, I'm not changing careers, but it interests me now. And how are you going to make money doing that? Well, the truth is, I now do large scale keynotes for huge audiences, and I use mime as an analogy. The title of the book is a great example. I use mime when I teach sales, because in mime, you have to be very clear about choosing a move. You can't confuse the audience. You don't have props. You don't have text. And when I talk about sales, I say, look, you've got to be very clear. Or in business, you can't choose 18 initiatives at once. So choose your moves is a mime expression. I use that to teach communication and sales. Who would have thought? Or for example, I just love performing. That's my background, as you shared. Who would have thought that performing would lead to me teaching top executives in a program I have to rock it on stage? You would have thought, going into the performing arts and performing in these tiny little venues where I was making no money early on in my career would lead to me working with Starbucks, Microsoft, PayPal, teaching them how to rock the room. So you never know where something's going to lead.
That's so true. And it's life is what they say, it's got to be lived forward, but you can definitely get a lot of hindsight from looking backwards. So
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Wealth to me is big family vacations.
Houses, cars.
Money, mostly, yeah.
Am I wealthy? No, I wouldn't call myself wealthy.
Didn't have a lot of money, never really had a lot of money.
Med school certainly isn't cheap.
How'd you get this picture? This is Molly. It started pouring down rain, and we hid under the tree.
I wake up in the morning and I see her smile, and I know she's the love of my life. I think of her nonstop. She's just totally unbelievable. I wasn't expecting this.
Hey, Mama.
She loves me.
Am I a wealthy guy?
Absolutely. I may not have financial riches, but
I am wealthy.
Tell me, when you think about what's next for you and how people could really embrace this risk forward motto, what kind of comes to your heart?
Well, what I want people to feel, as I said, is not wrong in that period. And so I say to my clients and people who've read the book, and even anyone who has not read the book, I say, next time someone says to you, what's your plan? And you're not clear, say, I don't know. I'm risking forward. And so for me, I've written the book. Right now, we're in this wonderful phase of people reading it. We're getting this community built. We have a mini course coming up. People are excited, and we're building it as we go. True to the book, I didn't have this whole plan laid out. I said, look, I want to write the book first. Let's see who's resonating with it. Let's see where it takes me. And we actually just sent out a survey to my list to say, what would be of value to you? So that we're learning as we go. And that's the way you create. You don't want to create something that no one wants. So we're seeing what happens next, and people seem pretty excited. So it's fun. We're risking forward ourselves.
Why do you think people, or do you think it's changed in the last year? People are scared to take risks.
Well, it's a number of reasons. Either they failed in the past, but it's not just that they failed, it's that they've been made wrong for failing. And whether it's a family member, a friend, a colleague who goes like, that was dumb, or why'd you do that? Or it happens early on in our childhood. We are taught, it's problematic. And when I work with groups, I'm incredibly protective of the culture in that group, because I want to make sure that people feel safe to take a risk. And so they've either failed in the past, or they lack a certain amount of confidence and self-esteem. And so part of what the book does really is help people listen and trust themselves.
Those are so powerful words. How can we truly dial in and listen to our inner knowing? Yeah. As you've been having such wild success with this book that's come out, and I want to talk about the groups here in just a minute. Tell me a story of somebody that's written to you and said, oh my gosh, this book has changed my life, because I know people have done that. So can you give one that's top of mind?
I'll give you a few. One is a client of mine, actually a colleague of mine. She has a fairly significant business. She got the book, and a few weeks later, she wrote me and she said, I think this book has saved me or my business, because there's a difference, the business, $5 million, because she was in the fog. She was about to outsource the plans for the business to someone else because she figured, I don't know, someone else will. I'll hire an outside consultant. She went through the book and she said, I know what to do as a result of reading this. And so she made a pivot in the way that was true to her. She knows her audience best, and it saved them a ton of time. I mean, years of going down the wrong path, because when you have that big a business, an initiative can take a couple of years to unfold, and that shift saved her a ton of time, and what she estimates is probably $5 million. That's one client friend. Another woman, she has a financial advising expertise in business, and she, a little like the woman I said who's interested in comedy, said, I kind of want to risk forward and take a break right now. I'm exhausted. And the pressure often when you're having success is to keep going. So she came to me and she said, can I hire you just to help me to risk forward and trust myself, really? This is before the book was out. And she said, I just want to pause. But everyone's saying, go again, make more money, grow your team. She was so exhausted. So sometimes risking forward looks like standing still. And as a result of that break, she came back much stronger, clearer, and had a bigger outcome.
That is powerful. Risking forward sometimes looks like standing still. I'm around a lot of business people as well, and I totally agree with you. My standing still is my tribe knows this. I've got a love affair with pickleball right now. So it's like, okay, I could work or I'd go play pickleball. Let me go play pickleball instead. And it's, you're working on there, but it's a different type of work, and it kind of goes within. Yeah, I love that. You've been talking about your communities you're building. How can people tell us about them, and then how can they learn? How can they join?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. We are evolving, as I mentioned. So the easiest and the simplest thing is to just come to riskforward.com. Right now, the book is up there with a way to join. If you buy the book, if you don't want to buy the book and you're just curious about me and what I'm doing, you can certainly find me on social media. So we're building this group. We have a Facebook group for people who bought the book, but depending on when someone watches this, that might be in transition to a little mini course I'm going to run, like a 7-day experience, which will be live when I first do it in the beginning of June, and then we'll put it on kind of replay. All of which is to say, if you're curious at all, everyone listening, go to riskforward.com.
Well, I think now is the time. Now is the time for you to really take back your power, take back your dreams. And without a doubt, this book will help guide you to the next step or the next idea that leads to the idea.
That's it.
So really, Labam, that's how you say your last name, Labam.
Yeah, Labam, like a balmy night.
Oh, love it. Love it, love it, love it. So a couple final questions for you. If you had a magic wand, what would you do?
What would I do with my life, or what would I do right now?
What would you do in this moment for the world, for yourself, for your family, for your community?
I would just embrace all the suffering souls out there and say, look, if you're having a hard time, if you're full of self-doubt, if you're feeling low about yourself, if you're questioning where you are in your finances or your family or your career, first off, I have great compassion for you. We make the assumption that everyone else has it figured out. And part of what this book says is we're all figuring it out. So number one, try not to compare and despair, as I say. I have great compassion for that. I've been through it many, many times. I think risking forward is a cycle we go through again and again. So that's what I would do. I would say, I would embrace everyone and say, I'm here. I get it. You're doing okay.
Yeah, you're doing okay. I love to end the show with a quote. Do you have a favorite quote that inspires you today? Yesterday?
Well, it's a quote from the book that I remind myself all the time, and it's one of people's favorite quotes. There are two. The first is the opening of the book, which is some people in life know exactly what they want to achieve. Risk forward is for the rest of us. And then secondarily, at the edge of not knowing is the beginning of the extraordinary.
You're making me think about, oh gosh, 15 years ago, one of my clients came in, it happened to be my 40th birthday. And she said, oh, my son is 40. He has no idea what he wants to do with his life. And look at you. I said, oh, it's overrated. So I love that you said, it's not everybody knows. And even if it looks like, you may not know.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Well, I've enjoyed spending time with you today. I picked a quote for you today. It's by Marianne Williamson.
Oh.
We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, handsome, talented, and fabulous? And actually, who are you not to be? And so I believe your book, Risk Forward, helps people find that own magnificent for them and to maybe get out of the way of judging what other people are doing and kind of get in your lane and be your best version of yourself. And you definitely have shown, spread the light to my audience today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We've got some great ideas. Check out riskforward.com, plug into Victoria's message and take back your power, take back your intentional living, and really rise to this occasion for you, not for the community, even because I believe if you really truly live from your heart, the community will win from that. All right, I'll chat with you all next week. Enjoy this gorgeous weather. Bye now.
Bye, everyone.
I sure appreciate you listening to Small Changes, Big Shifts. If you visit the website smallchangesbigshifts.com, we'll have the show notes ready for you there. If this episode inspired you to make a small change that led to a big shift, please share it with a friend and leave a rating or a comment. Be sure to subscribe so you can catch new episodes each week. Blessings to you.